Hi, my name is Kaylin, and I'll be talking about my experience with our food preparation basics lab. We had two main parts to it. The first part was evaluating the different boiling points, and then the second part of the lab was looking at energy transfer by baking cookies. These are the ingredients needed for the first part of the lab. I have 2 cups of water boiling and it read at 210.3. I added 1 tablespoon of salt and the temperature went to 211.2. This happens because salt separates into ions and reduces the water's vapor pressure, which rises the boiling point due to water molecules requiring more energy to release into the atmosphere. As you can see from the results, the temperature continued to rise. I repeated the same process for sugar. I added 1 tablespoon of sugar, which read at 210.2. Sugar doesn't separate into 2 ions like salt, but it still raises the boiling point, just less than salt. The last process of part 1, I repeated the same steps for cornmeal. The effect cornmeal had was little. 1 and 3 tablespoons read at the same temperature of 210.7. Since cornmeal doesn't dissolve well, it doesn't have much effect on the vapor pressure. The final results show that salt and sugar had an effect on vapor pressure. However, salt had the greatest effect because salt has twice the effect on vapor pressure as sugar, as it separates into 2 ions, sodium and chloride. Once salt dissolves into water, it separates into those 2 ions, which causes the water molecules to have a harder time getting into the atmosphere. This then causes the vapor pressure to be lowered and requires more energy to bring water to boil, and that causes the temperature to increase the boiling point. On the other hand, cornmeal had the least effect because it doesn't really dissolve into the water but had little solid parts. Due to that, it doesn't mess with the water molecules as much to affect the vapor pressure, so the boiling point doesn't really change much. These are the items needed for part 2 of the lab. I started with the glass pan first and made eco-sized cookie dough balls. I baked all the cookies on 350 for 13 minutes like the package said and on the middle rack. The first pan was glass and glass pans absorb heat. The cookies were flatter, medium brown bottom, light brown top, and dense inside. It had a crispy outside and a gooey inside and was one of the sweeter cookies than the others. The dark pan was next. I repeated the same steps as before. Dark pans also absorb heat. The tops were light brown and the bottoms were much browner than the other ones. It was more airy, soft, light crispy outside and gooey inside. This cookie was less sweet than the others and the best tasting one in my opinion. The last pan was the shiny pan. Shiny pans reflect heat, which helps with even baking. These cookies look like the perfect cookies with a nice golden color, less dense, and it was flat. It had a crispy outside and gooey inside, and it was a little bit less sweet. Based on the appearance, texture, and taste, the Maillard reaction had the most effect on the dark pan because it absorbs heat more and bakes the cookies faster. And even though the glass pan also absorbs heat, it heats up the pan more slowly, which causes it to be more lighter. Overall, I enjoyed this lab. I knew salt would have the biggest impact on boiling points. With the cookies, the shiny pan is usually the go-to when making cookies. I was more surprised that I liked the dark pan cookies better.